So for any of you out there who aren't actually studying this text, as always, you know what I'm going to say. It doesn't matter if this is a text that you don't know or that you're not studying. What we're doing here is having a look at a student's essay writing skills and seeing whether or not we can improve them through certain recommendations. So whether it's like expression, or is the essay structure actually matching what we want it to be? Is the student including relevant information? This is all stuff that is applicable to any text that you're studying. So I hope you stay with me and keep watching. I don't know if you guys have seen my previous video about Ladder Up, but basically Ladder Up is a spin-off of Lisa's study guides, and it came about in 10 seconds or less because I realized that people weren't getting the help they needed on demand. And so, as a result, we've had a few people sending through their questions through Ladder Up since my video that I made. And one of those questions I actually want to go through with you today. And it's a question that's asked by a student who I will keep anonymous, but we'll just call her Alex. And she sent through a complete mouse essay, and I'm basically going to review it and essay mark it for her with you guys watching. So I thought that this would be a great video for you guys to actually better understand exactly what Ladder Up does, but also for you guys to learn a little bit more about how you guys can improve your actual English essay writing skills. Oh, and before I keep going, just to make sure that everything is clear, she has agreed to have her essay be marked by me, and she is aware that I am filming this and sharing this with you guys. So thank you to Alex for allowing us to see your work and having your work as a way for the rest of us to learn from what you do well and also maybe what you don't do so well. All right, so here we've got the prompt: discuss Art's representation of his father. Is it a fair approval? Approval. So as soon as I look at this prompt, I recognize that Art is the protagonist of this graphic novel, and it's really about Art's view, so his representation of his dad. So in other words, is Art's view of his father fair? Is it fair of him to view his dad in the way that he does? So I always try to articulate and rephrase the essay prompt in my own way, because that way it helps me understand exactly what's expected of me, and it just really clarifies things in my head. Like, this is how I understand the prompt and this is how I'm going to tackle it. So let's just make sure throughout this essay that the student really does answer the prompt by ensuring that they talk about this fair portrayal, whether or not it is fair or not. So we start off with Art Spiegelman's graphic novel, The Complete Mouse, is one of the most famous graphic novels. Also the winner of the prestigious... Ooh, okay, here we go. So already in our first sentence, I would say that you definitely don't need this. So I'm just going to start making some changes here, or I'm just gonna make comments, okay? So I'm just gonna write, I don't believe you need this. This information is extraneous and irrelevant to your answer. Focus on offering information that's going to add value. So basically, when it comes to a VC essay, you don't really need to talk about how the book is performing or what awards it's won. We're not really interested in that side of things. It's sort of information that is outside of the text. So display only the knowledge that has been drawn from the text itself. Okay, so it is the harrowing tale of a Jewish Holocaust survivor retold to his son decades later. Throughout the novel, the story has two main threads. First, the true story of the Holocaust survivor Vladek Spiegelman's experiences as a young Jewish man during the horrors leading up to and including his confinement in Auschwitz. The second intertwining story is about Vladek as an old man recounting his story to his son, Art, author of this book, and the complicated relationship between father and son. Okay, so what I'm gathering here is more of a this is what the book is about. It's really just a summary of the book and how there's two parts to it. But This is something that you don't actually need to tell your teacher or examiner. You have to assume, and in this case, it's not even assumption, like you know that they've read the text. So you don't really need to give them information that they already know. Always try to give them information that is going to be new, if possible, or offers some sort of demonstration that you have knowledge just beyond the surface of what a plot is. So I'm just going to write, this is not necessary information. Perhaps a better way of capturing your audience via your initial sentence is to talk about how the novel is written from art's perspective. So I might add here perspective, I might actually change this and say perspective of a son, so that's Art, who is desperately grappling after his father's memory in an effort to understand his family history, which is the Holocaust, etc. So what you want to try to do in your introduction is, yes, you do want to give some sort of background about the text, but always try to make it relevant to the actual topic sentence. So in this case, the student is just kind of giving a summary of the whole book, and the way that I see it, this section that I've just commented on could probably be written for any single essay. And that means that if you can apply it to every single essay out there or essay topic, then it's not good enough because it's not tailored to this specific prompt. So instead, I would say, why not try to establish that link with Art's representation of his father and how this novel is about his perspective and why he's trying to understand his dad better and what is he trying to achieve from this. Let's keep going. Spiegelman's depiction of his father is heavily influenced by his childhood and personal opinions of his father, yet still provides the reader with enough evidence that his father is capable of redemption. Okay, so for the first time in this essay, I feel like we're actually sort of more on topic, you know. The keywords that I'm starting to see here are Spiegelman's depiction of his father, which have to do with representation of his father. It's influenced by his childhood, personal opinions, and so this obviously shapes the way that the reader sees his dad, and so that links back to portrayal as well. So I think that's quite good. We definitely want to see that like earlier on if you can. Try to establish this fact earlier. His use of flashbacks, Vladek's qualities and irony of his interpretation, Spiegelman is able to discuss both the good and bad about his father. Okay, the expression here is not great. His use of flashbacks, Vladek's qualities and irony of his interpretations, Spiegelman is able to. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but that's why I love reading out loud whenever I'm marking essays or proofreading my own essays, because it means that I can hear straight away what's wrong. And I would definitely try to rewrite this sentence. I'm not going to focus on it right now, but what I think is good is it does take the student a while to get there, but she really does kind of form a point, and that is Spiegelman is able to discuss both the good and bad about his father. So I can kind of see how that links to fair portrayal. It's fair because he sees the good and the bad, but we kind of want a more explicit statement. So is it a fair portrayal? Use the keywords fair. Use the keyword portrayal. I think a lot of students out there are really scared of using keywords. Please don't be. If you can use your keyword and ensure that you show your teacher or examiner that you are on track, on target, you know exactly what you're doing, I think that's a much better way of going about things than trying to, you know, not repeat yourself or trying to sound like you have better vocabulary by avoiding the keywords altogether, because then that kind of leaves room for me to go, are you actually answering the question? Use keywords like fair and portrayal to state your overall contention. Cool. So I would say within this first introduction, there are already a few things that I would work on, and that's basically the comments here. Let's keep going. So if I wanted to be really harsh though, I would definitely say that with overall with this introduction. Unfortunately, your introduction doesn't actually, I don't know if I'm just nervous, but like I keep making mistakes when I'm typing and I don't know, you know what, actually I think it might be because I'm talking and typing and filming at the same time. Yeah, see, it's just the brain power is not, it can't do that much at the same time. Okay, so let's keep going. Spiegelman's interpretation is rather cruel towards Vladek in the first few chapters of the novel, allowing the readers to get a glimpse of the flaws that the father possesses. Alright, I actually think this is so much better. This is much better. Here, you're voicing your opinion on whether you think art's representation is fair or not. However, we need to see this contention in the introduction. I feel like this has been one of the more powerful statements that's actually been made. Like, Spiegelman's interpretation is cruel. Cool, like that, it is cruel, but let's again try to work it in with the word fair. Like, just because he's cruel towards his dad, does it mean that he's fair? Do you guys wanna, you know what I mean? The earliest examples of this is seen in the flashback. Alrighty, so already, one thing I would recommend is avoid saying example. It's redundant information. Just say the first flashback is portrayed through the prologue where a young art, etc. Okay? There's no point in you using redundant pieces of information. Like, once you actually talk about the example, we know that you're using example, so you don't have to say for example. A young artist who is abandoned by his friends is desperately in need of comfort of his father, in which he gets none. Oh, that's a bit awkward expression here. So, you know, if it's really easy to fix awkward expression actually. It might not sound easy, but it actually isn't that bad. So one of my favorite ways to do it is just to rephrase certain parts of the sentence. So we might say something like, Art receives no comfort from his father despite being abandoned by his friends. You know, just something like that. I think it's already one step up from the sentence before, and I didn't really change up that much of the sentence. I just like switch things around and suddenly it works. Okay, Vladek in the scene first says nothing, which is an interpretation as lack of care to his son, or suggesting that he's accustomed to repressing his feelings before art. Okay, I'm just gonna skip ahead a little bit. I read the rest of this and it seems okay so far, but I don't want to nitpick at absolutely everything just yet. I think from what I can tell from this student, answering the prompt is probably the biggest issue so far. So I'm not gonna, nitpick at absolutely at everything, because I think it's important to focus on like one or two main priorities of your writing, fix those up, and then work on the next thing. So everything that I write in, I highlight in yellow. You can condense your words. Choose wisely what vocabulary you use when writing essays. For example, instead of can be said, why don't you say arguably? All right, I'm gonna put my glasses on because I feel like it's easier for me to see what's happening on the camera. All right, so basically with what I'm seeing here with the student is they've gone into a lot of depth, and this is awesome. But essay writing is a balancing act. You have to be able to achieve depth and breadth, which I actually haven't talked much about on my channel. But if you guys are interested, comment below, let me know if this is something that you'd want to hear more about. Basically, what I'm finding here is that the student has just used one example and they go into a lot of detail about it, which is cool, that's awesome. But at the same time, we want to achieve breadth as well, which is finding a variety of examples to back up your point, because just having one point or one piece of evidence to support what you're saying, I guess it's not solid enough. So that's what I'm trying to say here. This way, you'll be able to back up your idea with multiple examples rather than just one you're heavily relying on. By the way, in case you're wondering, this essay will be uploaded online for you, so you can actually download it and have a read of what I'm typing up right now. So I'll make sure I put that link in the description box below and also in the card. Okay, so let's keep going. The flaws of Vladek far outreach the good in him. Okay, again, like, I like it. You're kind of getting there. I still don't really know, like, is art's representation of Vladek fair? He's also pathologically stingy, a comical miser, picking up discarded wire in the street, or taking paper towels. Okay, interesting. He won't even pay for Marla's hairbrush, she complains. Ooh, okay. So everything up to here, I'm gonna say, is retelling the story, unfortunately. So when you're saying stuff like this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, I feel like there's a better way for you to go about that in a more concise form. So a great tactic to do, which I have mentioned in the past, is start off with the word when. When this happens, this shows blah, blah, blah. The starting with when forces you to be more analytical. It stops you from retelling the story. It's as simple as that. It's such a quick fix, and I love that tip. I actually learned it from one of my tutors. So definitely recommend doing that. Okay, I'm gonna keep reading. Okay, so basically, because we are, you know, this video is getting quite long, I might actually have to stop it there because I don't want to take up too much time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish reading the rest, and I'm going to give this student a summary feedback at the very end, just to give this student, Alex, an idea of exactly what they need to focus on next. Okay, so I've basically read the rest of the essay, and I've written a few things for this student to take away. Hi Alex, good work. However, there are different aspects of your writing we need to work on. Introduction, you need to capture the reader's attention. Relate back to the context rather than the success of the book, which is irrelevant for this prompt. So for me, wow, the filming went on for too long, so my camera cut out. Can you try to be more succinct? So a great way of doing this is make sure that you proofread your work and just be brutal and absolutely like smash out like the words that you feel like you don't necessarily need. I feel like if you work on being more concise, it actually helps you to convey your ideas even better. So all of these tips so far have to do with ideas and answering the prompt. The third one is probably the least important one at this point in time, but your sentences are not flowing as well as they could be. There needs to be greater control over language, which means avoid retelling the story. One advice is to think, never use the plot or what happens to prove a point. Talk about the significance of the plot. So that there was that section before when she talks and spends a long time talking about how Vladek is quite stingy. But rather than talking about, you know, here are all the examples of when he's stingy, actually talk about why is he stingy. So I wrote here, he's all about conserving everything he has, because it shows how, just to sum up what I wrote down here, like he's lost so much over time that, you know, he's lost friends and family, his old home, he's lost all his belongings. So now that he can kind of hoard, that means something for him, not physically, but emotionally. And we want to dig down to that deeper level if you can. So that's just it for now. I'm definitely going to spend more time on this essay, marking it and giving Alex the full comprehensive breakdown of what I've written. But for you guys, I hope you have found this helpful. If you did, then what should I say? Should I ask you to like it, or should I ask you to comment? I'm gonna ask you to do whatever you want, but show me that you guys are enjoying this series of essay marking videos, because I will do another one a little bit down the track in a couple of weeks. That's just gonna really help me understand if it's something that you guys want to see or not. So if you guys are interested in Ladder Up, just a quick breakdown about what it does. You can ask any question you want, and tutors basically compete to answer your question. So it's different from a tutoring service. It's a once-off tutor that you get for one question that you're after, whether it's essay marking, whether it's something about your text, whether it's exploring an idea or helping you with your expression, then ask those questions. You can select your budget and a deadline that you think is something that's gonna work for you. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'll see you guys next time.